Hey.
Hey, morning, Carlos.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great. We're having a cold day here, but staying here all day long. So, not entirely bad, yes. What about you? You are based in Seattle, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Right. So,
and
how are things going there for you?
yeah. So here, we have been having sunny days since early this week, and also
Nice.
I think people started to take vaccine like a month
Yes,
ago. It's just for old people, like older than 65, but now they're trying to cover more. So looking at the trajectory, I guess probably like by end of April they should cover all the people here.
that's interesting. That's very nice.
Yeah, and I've seen like in Microsoft, folks already started to talk about the plan for coming back to the office.
Of course, yes. I guess that people are very excited about that. I could be, definitely. I have been working remotely for basically my whole life, but of course, if you are used to going to the office, probably
Well,
you really are feeling this energy. Yeah. Anyway, as you may have read, Ted is not making it to this meeting today, so
yeah,
we will have to do it without him. I guess we are. Hey Harold, we are also waiting for Lolita. I don't know whether she will show up. Okay, let's wait 1 more minute. If not, we can go without her. I guess
yeah,
that's good enough. Right. But actually, something interesting is that after we released 1.0 for tracing, now the release after GA or allow for GA labels do not apply anymore.
yeah,
We need to do something about that. Yes. I was talking to Bogdan like a few weeks ago about the fact that, of course, the next release is very metrics oriented, but I think we should try to decide what things we really want to see tracing or resource wise. Like one of them would be, for example, to actually have the environment variables, the transport option for Zipkin, for Jaeger, and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that could be interesting to decide. But yeah, anyway,
yeah. So I can share my desktop to show like
perfect.
what.
Let's go.
So I was chatting with Ted last week, and this is where we are today. So on the top level, we have the projects, and each one has a like very specific purpose. And we use that also as the milestone for the issues. So if you go to the spec issues, you can see their metrics API feature freeze. And I start to put something here. You can see like we try to stage things. So first we want to reach experimental release by end of May. And then we want to have feature freeze by end of September. And then we have stable release by end of November. And we try to put things here, not stable, just to make sure we didn't forget about those things. And based on the actual execution, we might figure out, oh, this is something we can always do later, but we need that before stable or after stable. In this way, we will put things in different milestone and probably don't need to change the tags dramatically. I think the GA tag might still be useful because when we try to announce GA at a certain point, we still want to go through the entire list to make sure we didn't miss anything. But with that, like if you look at the experimental release, you already see a list of items, and I start to like assign those items to myself, and I went through them every week to make sure, like like what we discussed in the metric sig meeting will cover the topics here, or at least I got it very clear. Like if people decided this is out of scope, I'll go ahead and close the issue and put the explanation link back to the meeting notes. For the projects part, this is something like GitHub is not very good at. So even if you have all the issues properly tagged and you have different status, but here projects, you need to stitch them together, and that's not automated. So Ted was thinking if we could automate that, but I suspect we could find some resource to cover that. So what currently I have is that I got one PM from Microsoft who volunteered to do some of the work that like previously covered by Andrew. So I'll try, like he committed that he'll spend 2 days per week just to help us to manage things, like execute on our current like schedule and items. So I
Nice.
hope that could accelerate things. But he's new. He's pretty good at Microsoft like internal project management, and I have high confidence. But for OpenTelemetry is pretty new, so I'll work with him closely to ramp him up. But I guess probably we'll need to give him like 1 or 2 weeks.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so,
like that a lot. Like somebody who can actually, help us with this, who has more experience on managing stuff. Yep.
yeah, and I'm also thinking like probably he can offload Ted on some of like facilitating the meeting, or like you. I know Colors sometimes like similar like this when Ted is away, like by default, you take over that. I try to make sure people have reasonable load instead of assuming like you own
Yes,
everything. Yeah.
totally.
So
All
we
right.
can see like he probably can start by like managing the projects and try to like make sure the items are properly tracked. And
Mhm.
then once we have a good shape, I expect that to be in a week and less than 2 weeks, of course. And once we have that, like in the spec meeting, we reserve the like the 20 minutes or 7 minutes, whatever, like just to report back the overall status. I think he probably can take that time to just update people and also like give people heads up which part are we making good progress, which part would we see risk or like we need to accelerate. And if he's doing a good job, I think he can cover more and eventually help to facilitate the meeting.
Right. By the way, do you have any exact start date for him?
Literally, he could start next Monday.
Okay, nice. Perfect. So let's do it. Let's do it. Very nice. Thank you for setting this up. All right. So I guess we have to wait for a little bit more of setup before we can actually triage the issues. I think we can now go and set the labels, but that's like something very simple. But I guess I am very curious when it comes to the actual metrics issues triaging. I think you guys. I don't know whether you guys like the two metrics groups are doing that yourselves or what's the plan.
So I'm doing things that are obvious. Like if I see something that has been covered in the meeting and there's a clear note what like whether it's in scope or not, I'll just go ahead without bothering too many people. Something not clear, I'll try to be aggressive and just put that under the first milestone, and then I'll in this way it's not like I'm not dropping it somewhere and forget about it,
Yes.
and bring that back to the meeting. So I try to like initially put everything in the first milestone and discuss in the meeting, and based on the agreement try to put things in later milestones.
All right. That works. That works very well.
And one struggle I think we have, like the project is growing bigger. I think no one can cover the entire scope. So this is why you saw my PR. I try to break the spec down into smaller pieces. But obviously, like I know that trying to clarify the ownership and define the rule could probably take a long conversation. So I'm trying to do that in parallel by trying to add people just to split the work, especially like semantic convention. I think we
Yes.
got to break that down instead of saying, oh, like these are only like 8 people and they're not specific to any domain, but they will randomly pick to facilitate one thing. But it seems Bogdan wanted us to be conservative and having those clearly defined. So actually send a PR to revert my previous
Yeah,
plan.
I saw that. I saw that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, let's try to talk about that on Monday. I hope he shows up. I will write
Yeah.
him because if he doesn't show up to the Monday meeting, then we are basically stuck for I don't know how many days this
Yeah.
will appear. So let's
Or
try to motivate
yeah,
him to show up.
or I'm thinking probably we can start with a separate file like a Google Doc. Although I hate that, like a Google Doc just to track the file, like who should take care of that. Then for triage, at least we know we're not missing anything.
Yeah, well, let's wait for Monday. I would suggest it's just like the next business day. If we can come to an agreement what he expects and everything, let's just do that. If not, let's go with this alternative. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be my suggestion. But
yeah,
anyway, yeah, that's gonna help a lot, and I can totally tell you that I haven't been able to catch up with the semantic convention stuff. It's like too much stuff,
yeah,
Conversations are going. I have no idea about some of the stuff, that is
yeah,
very
exactly.
specific. Yeah.
I mean, if there's some effort and people notice like they want to start cover some AWS thing, well, I have no idea. I probably can use my common sense to help them. But in the end, if there's a problem, it will damage the overall open telemetry reputation. So I want at least to make sure when we start that work stream, we got reasonable coverage. Similar like when you start a language SIG, you want to make sure there like sufficient like stuff, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, like you start something and then you drop things on the floor and it'll sit there and you even struggle because there's no clear rule. Should you just go and delete that document or like
Yeah, yeah,
what?
yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, totally. I agree with that. Okay, and I guess my last question is whether I saw that, based on what you were showing, that now we will be using a lot the projects component.
Mhm.
I don't know if we should still, or whether it makes sense or it's usable at all to keep these priority labels for each issue. I don't know what do you have in mind, or projects, or organizing them by projects.
I
That's
Yeah, good point. I agree with you. Probably we don't need to have that priority anymore.
right. So in that way, yeah, we can probably. I mean, as I said, after 1.0, we really need to go on some cleanup there, and labels included.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's something that needs to be done. But anyway, we can coordinate with this new contributor that you're bringing, so we can, put the final details there.
Yeah,
No, actually, I have one more question. Well, sorry about that. Yeah, I saw that you were showing also the projects, like the milestones and all that. And there's one by the end of March, which is for the metrics data model.
yeah.
But it's, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it kind of feels weird that we will probably most likely will be including a few tracing issues there, and they will be part of the metrics um,
Mhm.
data model freeze. Yeah, I don't know if it's fine.
I I think the current approach is we don't use the milestone as a collection of everything. We could have two milestones that are having the same timeline. That's what I
Yes.
we're going. So so let me show you one example here. Like the metrics roadmap. Actually, people like the approach where we mention something like this. We have the same dates repeated here, but there are two different goals. One is covering the metrics API, another is the premises. So people working on this work stream, they know their separate timeline. If they need to slip that, like if the API decided to slip for a month, they can change that without having to touch the other plan. And when it comes to the actual, like the physical release of the spec, I think we just use the banner in the very top of the spec. So if we decided, okay, the data model can be stable, then we just flip them to stable and create a new release tag.
Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. That's good to know. In that case, I guess I will be working on the side about trying to gather what's the list of things that tracing wise or baggage wise we want to have, like really want to have soon. As I mentioned before, Zipkin or Jigger specific stuff.
Yeah.
So I can create an additional parallel milestone. All right, I was start thinking about that. We have a few meetings next week, so we can probably discuss in details with that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think we have to be a little bit more aggressive with what we decided. Well, yes and no. I think that we should be aggressive by limiting what we want for tracing, not just saying let's add these 15 issues, but just add 5 important ones. Anyway, yeah. So it's good to know, right? Okay, sounds great to me.
Yeah, and I guess like once we figured out what we want to do, we might get some feedback, say no, 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 like go with a different direction. But as long as we start to categorize issues and put them into different buckets, like changing the way how we organize things should be much easier. The key part is how to identify the proper scope and tag those items.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, that's a good one. By the way, how are you feeling confidence-wise about the milestone by the end of the month? I know you guys have been working a lot, but how is it looking? What is your feeling about
I
reaching that?
yeah, I think I still see a risk because you probably know like in this community like we're trying to be very very mild and sometimes like the conversation could go wild forever.
Yes,
So I'm trying for metrics. I'm trying to use a concrete scenario. So there's the O tab like 146. I try to use that to capture what we need to do, and anything else you won't have a clear answer when you try to look at the scenario. You know, oh, the topic we discussed is not going to contribute to this scenario. So I hope that can settle a clear scope. And currently,
yes,
I've seen we got a lot of support from many folks. Bogdan probably still a little bit like here and there, but I think he probably saw something that we didn't see.
yes. All right. Okay.
Yeah, so I believe the timeline is something we could achieve, but we need to do a good job there. It's not
Yep.
something like very like we have 100% confidence, but it is achievable, and we probably need to get more support and being able to make decision quicker. I'm trying hard, and sometimes I figure if I go harder, folks would be very unhappy with me. So I'm trying to strive the balance there.
Yeah. Sure. All right. Yeah. It's good to know. Yeah. I think that one of the problems that we need to actually address some way or another eventually is people oversubscribing. Like we are sometimes too optimistic about the amount of time that we can work on different stuff at the same time, and sometimes it's just unrealistic, and that affects the outcome. Like how fast we're producing stuff and we're blocked. So anyway,
I
that's something just to think about in the near future.
Yeah, I was actually going to say I'm relatively new to the project, but that's actually one of the areas that I feel like it's difficult to really you know to really get something that I can feel like, okay, yes, I can start to work on this, because there is a little bit of like, obviously there are team members who have been here for a while, and so they kind of know the general direction, and I've been trying to absorb a lot of the things. Specifically, I'm interested in metrics, and like you said, it's like it's a bit mild. So like you like we'll have these conversations, but we'll have and not to say that they don't need to happen, but it's like you have this long conversation and then there's no end to it, and then there's no resolution, and there's no action item to take out of it.
Mhm.
Now a lot of times there are action items for certain people, but again it's just like it's the same people, and so
I
that
see.
Yeah.
that leads to the overtaxing. It's like, okay, I would like to contribute. How can I contribute? Let me know, because I would love to, do something that's useful. This is something that we're looking to hopefully implement, and making this work is potentially something that I could commit to. I just need to know realistically where is somewhere that I can actually provide
Mhm.
value.
So how like you mentioned metrics, are you specifically interested in the data model part and the collector, like protocol agent thing, or the API?
Yes. So for us, I mean, I'm interested in the data model to the extent that we, obviously you can't build anything else without knowing what the data model is going to be.
Mhm.
Um, but if that's an area, I wouldn't say that I've had to deal with a lot of data translation and stuff, but I wouldn't say that I'm expert. So if that's a specific area that could use pushing, I'd be more than happy to try to help there.
Yeah, so the data model project has a clear scope, I believe, starting from this Tuesday. Let me find the link I can share with you. Okay, so let me share my screen, and also I'll put the link here. And are you in the data model meeting?
Yes, I don't think I went. I know I didn't go to the last one, but I've gone to the last few before.
Okay,
that.
so previously, like folks were focusing on tracing, so metrics are a little bit messy, but we're trying to catch up. And recently, there has been a lot of progress. So probably you will see this is much better. So this is the data model GA plan, and we already have the items here. And this is the clear scope. So folks in that SIG already confirmed that they're not going to add anything new here. This is the clear scope. If we just move all the items to done, we're done.
Okay. Okay, so that's simple enough.
Yeah.
That's under the spec. Okay.
Yeah, and it's much better than 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, it's like people are talking in the air. So
yes, that was one of those things. I'm like, okay, maybe like I don't know that I'm getting much from it. I also don't feel like I'm providing value. So that's part of the reason why I didn't go to the last one. But I guess it looks like some significant progress.
And if you need to get in touch with someone who can guide you on which item you can start to contribute, reach out to Josh here. You can see that.
Yeah, I recognize him from the meetings.
Yeah, and he did all this stuff, like try to make things in shape.
Okay, so reach out to Josh. That would be a good first action item. Then I would take it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. I will put that in my notes.
Okay, so I think that covered all the updates from my side.
Great. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, looking forward to have this contributor from Microsoft that will help us. I'm very excited about that.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Talk to you next week. Ciao.
Yeah, see you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.